Welcome back to this channel. You'll recall that in our last episode, we did explore the basics of GMOs, as explained by our guest speaker, Mr. Jelani Abubakar. We learned that GMOs has been from the beginning and that it is not new, and our speaker gave even the religious support for GMO. Today, we are diving deeper into some of the basics. How do they come up with any products being termed GMO? What really takes place? And at the same time, we uncover what you really need to know and separating facts from myth and giving us practical insights that could help us to trust consumption of GMO. So stay with us and let's get started. Let us start from some of the terms that are used in genetically modified organisms.
Pardon me for using those non-layman terms.
No.
So, in every organism, like I said, they're made up of genes. They're more like the building blocks that makes up the entire organism.
Yeah.
So those genes, especially DNA, are like imprints inside the gene that are expressed eventually in the overall organism and shows, okay, this organism will become big, chubby, built, skinny, or otherwise. Will have this traits, or will be dark skin, will be light skin. All this would be what comes out to bear for people to see eventually, or features that would eventually come out. So in a building, I was trying to use example of the building as an architectural building, for instance, structure being built with blocks. So if the blocks are clay blocks, for instance, the features probably in ability to retain more cooling in summer is much better compared if it's made by cement, for instance. So these are things that eventually are going to come out to the user of that organism or to the world to see, oh, these oranges are much more juicier than that, or they are much more bigger in size, or they can withstand, say, pests and diseases or otherwise. So what scientists have tried to do is determine what genetic properties makes an organism behave or express particular features. So for instance, what is the features, what is the property of the gene that would make rice be long grain or short grain? What is the feature that will make say the orange I said example, be sweet, be sour, or otherwise? That's why sometimes you see some people even experimenting to the point that what we used to consider as sour citrus earlier are now even sweet. So people will say, oh, this is an anomaly, for instance. But it's not particularly an anomaly. So like I said much earlier, historically, there are texts that have proven with scientific backing that this modification, which is the major concern, has been in play for a long time ago, since early man. So in that case, they say, oh, it is breeding or it is selective pollination in such a way that you try to ensure that it is this particular species mates to bring up this kind of pawpaw, for instance, papaya, like it's called, because some people don't know it as pawpaw. That was something I learned very recently. We went to Japan, I was saying pawpaw, this was pawpaw, like papaya. So for instance, that, or bananas. And so all of these are things that, so I mentioned coding. So determining what sequence the genetic property of an organism has and determining what to put into it. So there's insertion, there's gene deletion. So they could insert a gene from a foreign, don't say organism, from a foreign plant or yes, for a foreign plant, just so this current plant can have the same feature that other one has. Or they could delete some so that it could not express some of these traits that it has. So that is simply how genetic modification works, or genetic engineering. Engineering is, I think it makes some people feel a bit scared, like, are you trying to do the work of God? So that is why there's also the aspect of ethics. And I am a strong believer in ensuring that whatever we do, we ensure we're ethical. We don't cross the borderline. I don't think I should speak on some parts on here, but there's some people that will say, oh, we could go as far, the limit is endless. This is not endless. There's some limits we should not be crossing. We shouldn't go as far as to making other humans, for instance. So science, yes, is evolving, and it's very interesting and could solve real problems. So what is the real problem? So we have flooding. In the next few weeks now, we'll have floods, they say. We've been experiencing in some parts of Lagos, Ogun State, and the likes, even Kwara. And this is like a repeated pattern in most parts of the world now because of climate change. So scientists say, oh, they want to solve the problem of food scarcity because of climate change, causing flood, for instance, or causing drought. Yes, in that case, they are solving a real world problem by developing crops that can withstand this kind of challenges. So in that case, yes, genetic modification should not be seen as a something that is dangerous or harmful. And to safeguard against this, that is why there are scientific assessments for safety for every genetic modified organism. And there's also the issue of declaration. So that's why I encourage, before you buy anything, read what is on it. If you're a strong believer that you don't want GMO, don't take it. If you feel, even if non-scientific, if it's against your faith or whatnot, don't take it. You see it labeled there, GMO, don't take it. But if you feel these people have done their due diligence, because there are agencies responsible for this, like I mentioned earlier. In Nigeria here, in overseas, in other countries, most other countries, there are agencies responsible for the company that wants to produce something in a genetically modified way will need to submit a dossier that splits the narrative of why this editing or this genetic engineering is safe for human consumption, or even safe to be put there in the public space. Because there are some people that are even raising ecological concerns, saying, it could affect the ecosystem. So there's always a way to prove. So if there's evidence of that, why not? Why would it be accepted? So that's my personal belief. But on a scientific basis, from what is observable, you should be able to deduce and say, yes, this is safe or this isn't safe. So I won't tell any, I'm not the person that will say, oh, let's eat it, or don't eat it. You should be able to. So from that's where consumer education is important. Yes, there are people that will profit from making genetically modified organisms and using it in making. Like I said, I've been privileged to work for agencies that for parties that have used GMO to solve their own problem in that part of the world, and I've seen how they've been able to do it. Funny enough, that solution they've created there might even be causing some people down here not to be able to export their own commodities to them, because some things that they can no longer, that they were not able to grow there, and we were taking advantage and exporting to them, they can now grow and say, away with you. So it's for us now to look for ways to find solutions within it. Because we used to have the granite pyramids back in the days.
Yes.
Where are they now? There were challenges. So, and we have the landmass in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Fertile arable landmass, which I've seen in most parts of other parts of the world that they don't have that luxury of large arable landmass. There are some that they are trying to solve this issue of phosphorus concentration, available phosphorus from the soil for their crops to take it. They don't have, they have P, but it's not available P. It's not in a state that can be taken. We don't have those problems here yet. So what our scientists should be trying to do is use these technologies to solve our own immediate challenges. There's food insecurity. There's always a time when you have a tomato issue, when the disease, in that case, that's a pest infestation. Almost every year, it's a repeated trend. Yeah. If not for those that are now using greenhouse housing for cultivation of tomatoes, for instance, and ensuring no pathogenic pests are getting in, would have had the same, and you don't let it would have, because the year is not yet going to an end, we'll still end up seeing if it's solved or not. So I don't think we should be looking at GMO as a problem or part of the solution in a controlled way. That's one of the reasons I feel, yes, and GMOs, yes, everyone's saying GMO. But GMO is more precise. The precision in terms of the technology used can determine that, yes, the next foliage, F2, for instance, is more stable compared to what I've read about hybridized seeds, for instance. Some people can even differentiate between hybridized and GMOs. So they should be able to know the difference and know, okay, this is the advantage or disadvantage against this form on that form. There's a whole lot, and I don't think we should be creating fear, but rather have people get themselves educated. So I am not an expert. I might have a PhD, I might have a master's, doesn't make anyone an expert. So, but from our layman, we can all rub minds and educate ourselves. I'll discuss with my siblings or my parents discuss with me whatever information they have, but not just spread this out there and say, oh, consume this information, fact or non-fact. So there's several myths that we need to debunk.
Thank you so much,
thank you,
listeners. Having heard what GMOs, should we still be afraid of consuming GMOs? I want to assure you that this is not the end on this series of GMO. We'll still be going on
on what are the pros, what are the cons. There are questions being asked. So in the next episode, we'll be able to address specific questions concerning GMOs. And at the same time, as we continue in this series, we'll talk about countries that have been able to legalize consumption of GMOs. I think from this explanation given to us by our guest today, I know we must have gained something on what GMO is. And if you have done that, please, I want you to express that at the comments section. Finally, we await your comments. Thank you for joining us on this episode and hope to see you as we continue on this series on GMO. Thank you, and thanks our host too. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me, man.